The world is divided between continental powers that chase land and maritime powers that compound wealth. Today we're going over SCM Paine's article by Land or by Sea in this past Foreign Affairs. She is a William S. Sims University professor of history and grad strategy at the U.S. Naval War College. Basically, this is going to be a summary of her opinions in her article. So, she argues that the United States succeeds when it plays the maritime game, specifically, like keeping sea lanes open, growing prosperity with allies, and using patient pressure, rather than trying to outmuscle land powers on their own turf. In her frame, China and Russia embody the continental mindset, and the U.S. and its partners win by leaning into maritime strengths, not mirroring continental behavior. So the core lesson is strategic discipline. Maritime powers should keep the conflict cold, avoid hot wars in bad theaters, like landlocked, hostile neighbors, weak local support, and exploit the basic asymmetry that maritime economies are better at generating wealth. That means isolating continentalists from the benefits of rules-based maritime order until they stop violating international law, and doing so primarily with sanctions and coalition power, not tariffs or expeditionary wars. So first, why maritime beats continental in the long run? Continental hegemons prioritize borders, conquest, and militarization, creating a vicious cycle of repression and war. Maritime states, buffered by oceans, can focus on trade, industry, and institutions that reduce transaction costs and grow wealth, an infinite game logic that expands power without constant war. That's the logic of the rules-based order since 1945, and the game the U.S. is structurally suited to play. Secondly, China is a continental power. Even short of outright wars, Beijing is waging what Paine calls financial, cyber, resource, ecological, and drug warfare. Think debt trap lending, hacking, rare earth leverage, the Belt and Road Initiative, etc. So with occasional irregular clashes on land, patterns that risk classic continental overextension, and for all the talk of blockade strategies in Asia, many regional states have multiple routes to the open ocean, making them hard to bottle up. So third, keep it cold and pick those theaters wisely. So the Cold War was managed over generations. Rushing to decisive military victories courts nuclear danger and repeats failures. Maritime power should resist wars in places with poor maritime access or encirclement by hostile neighbors, and instead work the long game. Then use sanctions as if they're like economic chemotherapy. So the way to exploit the wealth asymmetry is not tariffs, which tax one's own imports, but sanctions that legally forbid targeted transactions with malign actors. Even poor sanctions that trim growth by percentage point can have devastating compounding effects and set back technology. Think the Soviet Union. Build bigger coalitions, so not bigger land wars. Alliances are additive, partners bring capabilities and help overwhelm continental powers. The job is to strengthen the network, maintain shared prosperity, and support states resisting aggression, most urgently Ukraine. Because tying down a continental aggressor weakens it over time and can even trigger internal succession dynamics that force retrenchment. Also, don't become what you're competing against. So the greatest danger is that the United States adopts a continental playbook, erecting broad barriers, threatening neighbors, degrading institutions, and thereby undermines the very advantages of a maritime order. Winning the Second Cold War, Paine writes, means hewing to the successful maritime strategy, not drifting into a land power mindset. So in conclusion, the takeaway, Paine's map is simple but demanding: play to maritime strengths, patience over precipice, sanctions over tariffs, coalitions over solo runs, sea power over land entanglements, and keep commerce flowing for friends, deny benefits to rule breakers, and help those resisting conquest without stumbling into wars and bag geography. That's how the United States and its partners prevailed last time, and how they'll both prevail again this time. So with that being said, I'm going to leave this one here. Again, this is This Past Foreign Affairs. Apologies for the, I don't know how well the audio gets through. I just got a puppy, and so there's a lot of squeaky toys and stuff in the background. and it's been an interesting time trying to do this at the same time taking care of him. So with that being said, I'll see you guys on the next one.